Welcome to Survivor Shift, moving from surviving to thriving. I'm Tammy Renee. Bill and I met through the Suicide Prevention Network, facilitating the PTSD support group. When I came on board, Bill already had the group up and running and doing a great job helping people to share and to feel safe and to be able to find answers for moving forward. Bill also serves missions for his church worldwide, and he's very dedicated to helping those who are struggling. And he's a great example. He's been how many years? 26 years sober?
Coming up, May will be 23.
23. Well, anyway,
yes.
Congratulations on that. It is a very long time. So Bill has had some big obstacles to overcome in his life. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about some of those obstacles, and then we'll talk about how he overcame them.
All right, cool. Thanks for the nice introduction, Tammy. I know it's been a real pleasure too, having you on board.
Thank you.
You mentioned, what a good segue. It's like you said 26 years, but it'll be 23. And I'll just start with, there was a time in my life where I didn't think I'd see 23 minutes of sobriety, and being drug-free. It was a terrible time. It wasn't just partying anymore. I was out of control.
Right.
Out of control. And a lot of people were telling me that. But, it's like the pride thing. I can take care of myself. I don't need your help, Well, when everybody has ostracized you, including family, and I've told you need to get some help, and you've become homeless, not a long time, but a short time, but it was homeless. I was that close to being one of those guys on the side of the road, who work for food. I did some jail time. There's a 3-year period in my life where I was in and out, was always on probation. There was a lot of physical violence involved. I was a pretty angry, evil guy, and with a blowtorch for a temper. Mm. Combine that with alcohol and drugs, and so I was in and out of the system. But there was like a life change. I had picked up a charge. It was a felony charge of assault, and booked into Santa Clara County Jail. Hadn't been sentenced yet, or hadn't seen a judge yet. And I was put on the 4th floor, double red, which are violent felons. That's what that floor is for. And I was solitary confinement. They let me out once in like 5-6 days to take a shower.
Wow.
And you're watched pretty close. Well, I had been on balancing on a fence post of this new thing about going to church. I was raised a Catholic, but let's just say I strayed, and back to being in that jail cell. I was just tired. I was looking out this little square window to this woman in front of the courthouse steps who had a hot dog cart. Mm. And I remember like going in there before where, you give her $1, you get chips, a hot dog, and a soda. But that was $1. It was back in the day.
Right.
So a long time ago. And but she was still down there. And I was just really, somebody was trying to get my attention. And, like someone knocks on the door and you open it, oh, you again. So I'd close it. Well, Jesus was trying to get my attention, and a lot of things had been happening. Even my mother, who was a devout Catholic, said, God is really trying to get your attention. Mm-hmm. And I laid on the floor, face down, concrete floor, and I I was really emotional, and I said, Jesus, I am so done. I am done. I can't do this anymore. I'm like, in the bondage of alcoholism and drug addiction, and this cauldron in my soul is just stewing with violence, anger, and evil.
Oh, wow.
And I'm done. I quit. I need your help. And I swear, I can't make you believe me, but like when you pick up a mother lion picks up her little cub by the neck,
Right.
Or we pick up a cat by the scruff of the neck. I felt like a hand grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and sat me on my bunk. I hadn't made it yet. It was all steel still.
Right.
And
Wow.
and I heard a voice just say to me, Bill, it's about time you asked.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a wow. That was a wow moment, and he goes, if you keep living your life the way you're living, you're going to end up just like Jimmy. He is another family member that was on death row, or still is, in San Quentin.
Oh, wow.
And I was following that path. And that voice, whoever it was, was speaking to me. And he knew what was going on. And I'm looking out that window on the 4th floor to the court steps, and saying I'm never, ever, ever going to take my freedom for granted again. And I was there on Double Red for another 5 days, and they let me out, and to put me in the general population there in the county jail, and because I still hadn't seen a judge yet. But I guess since I was quiet, I didn't make a scene. And even some of the corrections officers said, you're pretty quiet there for about a week. I go, well, I need some alone time with the Lord.
Mm.
And they kind of gave me that look. Yeah, that's what everybody says.
Right.
And I was transferred to Elmwood. It's a minimum security prison. I realized it was a place I needed to be, because outside the fence and the walls were, I just couldn't handle being in the general population of being a civilian.
Right.
And I had the feeling God wasn't going to let me out of there either, till he knew I was ready. Because we go to court and you sit with all the other inmates, we go to get in front of the judge, and even the judge says, Bill, Mr. Muzzy, you're not ready yet. She says, I'm going to give you a year. Your sentence is going to be a year. 6 months is going to be straight time. And then you're going to leave here and go right to alcohol addiction support home for 6 months. And if you don't finish that program, you're looking at state prison, a sentence of like 3 to 5 years. I'm all, what? And my attorney said, just shut up. Don't say a thing. And so, I learned over that 6 months, in the recovery home, I was introduced to, the 12-step program, which is like huge. I'm still working on my relationship with Jesus Christ. That was new too. But I'm telling you the truth that I couldn't have done AA without Jesus, or couldn't have done Jesus without AA. There were so many things that were so life-changing. I was such an angry guy, The house manager, I go, how listen to a bunch of idiots tell their drunkalogs, and pretend they like you and greet you with a handshake, That's supposed to make me clean and sober? Well, we're all going to a meeting tonight. You need to come. I don't want to go. I'm like a little kid who didn't get his Christmas present when he was 10 that he asked for, behave. My emotions were the same way. I don't want to go. I don't like it there. Oh, how much clean time do you have, Mr. House Manager? And he goes, Bill, what are you so mad at? I go, what do you mean? And I'm just trying to have a conversation with you, dude. And you're like want to like bite my head off. By the way, I have 15 years. I go, you got to be kidding me. What do you ever have fun? You know, and because my whole social life was around drinking and drugging, everything.
Wow.
And the people I was around. And so being clean and sober, bar none, I will tell you, it was the hardest thing I ever did. And, you know, the first couple steps, it's like, you know, life's out of control and you finally admit it.
Right.
And then second step is you're introduced to maybe there's a higher power out there that can help you guide yourself along. And then 3 is willing to turn your life over to this higher power, which my higher power was Jesus Christ. And you know, my young friend, why that is such a hard step? It's because you're giving 100% of your life over to some supernatural power that you can't see.
It's hard to trust.
How do you do that?
Right. It's hard to trust.
And okay, what if I give them like 90%? I get to keep 10%. Well, you know, when I tried that, man, that's when I started making, I got this. Then I'd go and fall and stumble and screw up again. And before I know it, I was in another jail cell.
Right.
And then I've shared this with you before in our PTSD group that step 4 was the life-changing step for me, taking a fearless moral inventory of yourself.
Right. And I think that step right there explains so much. So many of the people I've talked to, their survivor shift, that shift that they're able to make from the trauma and the drama and the anger and all that to a better place, I think has a lot to do with that step 4.
You're right. I agree. It's like you're trying to reach out for a new direction or a new path.
Right.
And by trying to figure out what you're made out of, a fearless moral inventory of yourself. Boy, I could like pick anybody on the street and do their inventory. I was really good at it.
I think we all are.
Yeah. I'm so good at it, but it's a character defect. I'm working on it, you know, baby steps. Right. But that was like, of all the anger and my selfishness, what was behind it? And it was all came from my anger, not getting my way. I'd get angry, you know,
right.
A girlfriend broke up with me. Oh, she's such a mean person, you know, but I was like my ex-wife, she was married to chemicals. I would have dumped me too, you know, and I'm seeing that finally. And the steps go on. You never graduate from those steps. My first year of being clean and sober was very intense, man. New relationships, new friends, even trying to be learn what being a Christian's all about. Like, how nice do you have to be?
Right.
That's what I was thinking, man. You know, and I go, where do you meet girls? Where do you go? You know, you want to go for ice cream, want to go to the bookstore. Let's go to the Japanese garden, you know, and because my life was just totally evil, and it's Friday night, let's go get in trouble.
Right. You know, I want to back you up and let's go and talk a little bit more about that step 4. So what is that specifically? What did you have to do that honest assessment of yourself? What is that like?
You had it's the first step where you start writing. If you have a sponsor, I had a really good sponsor, and he was straight up with me. He goes, Bill, you know, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to save your life, dude. Right. If you're not willing to do whatever I tell you to do, then you're wasting my time.
Right.
Find another sponsor. And it was like, making a list of everything that caused me to get so angry at anything or anybody, anyone,
Right.
parents, brothers, sisters. And when you're writing it down, it's like that pen just starts going.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that I'm kind of a selfish guy. He goes, I could have told you that, but you've got a lot of other character defects. So, but let's work with selfish first. We'll get to the other ones later.
Wow.
And I go, why do you have to talk to me like that? You know? He goes, because you're not getting it, man. You're not getting it. Look what you had and where you are. You know, in the big book in AA, they say how to give a testimony. Where you've been, where you are, where you're going.
Right.
And that period of time in my life, it's a chapter in my book of life.
Right.
And so you're on to your new chapter. You don't close that off, that bad chapter. You don't close it off and forget about it. You don't glamorize. It's the AA thing. You don't glamorize your insanity. You learn from it.
Right.
And after I realized, to answer your question about that step 4, all these things that made me so angry. And when he asked, what was your part in it being so angry? And that was key. And everything was on me.
Right.
It was like me not getting my way.
So you had to take responsibility for your life.
What? Yes. Yeah, and yes. And then you throw in, no alcohol, no drugs. It's like doing all that clean and sober, the steps. It's like putting Miracle Grow on your character defects. It's like,
wow.
You start seeing things a lot more colorized than black and white, and, I picked up another charge and I knew I was guilty, but I told my attorney, I don't care what you do, get me out of this, man. I'm not going back. I'm not. He goes, well, I'm not going to lie for you. But then here I am at this point in time calling myself a Christian, but then because I don't say it, or verbalize it, that I knew I was guilty, that Jesus wasn't going to hear me. He knew exactly what was going on.
Right. So when you were threatened with you're back in court, going back to jail, was this after you did your time in that home, the alcohol support?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
So I had graduated from that.
You graduated from that, and then, dang it, here you are again. But that's life, isn't it? We think we're getting it together and go forward, and sure enough, we'll fall. But the point is learning how to get back up, right?
My attorneys pled not guilty for me. It went to trial. I was guilty, had an appeal, and I was found guilty again. And then my attorney goes, look, we can just appeal the sentencing. Because the next time we go, you're going to be sentenced. But I'm telling you, this judge does not like you very much. And I'm all, And she's mad because she had to come out of retirement because they're so short of judges. And now she's got you with your attitude.
Oh, man.
So that's what I said. Oh, man. And she gave me, she threw the book at me. And that was okay.
Wow.
Because the pastor at the church I was going to, I go, what am I supposed to do? Jesus, get me out of this? No, man. There's accountability, man. I was sentenced to 6 months, but then I was out in like 3 days and did house arrest thing.
Wow.
And then I think back, it's kind of funny. I had a probation officer and she was a young woman, but very like spunky. And I asked if I could do this or go here, go there. You can go to your job,
Right.
She goes, you ever wonder why you're there? Man, you're always trying to get out of stuff. You're just, can I go? No. you want to, if you go, you're going back to jail. So go. I go, no, so you're saying go, like, don't go or go. And I said, I know what you're saying, and she goes, you're a smart guy, but you're not getting it. And I go, I keep hearing that. Little things like that were like life changing. Like my sponsor, I'd always show up late for our meetings, and he goes, our next meeting, I'm going to give you 2 minutes. If you're not here within those 2 minutes, find yourself another sponsor. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I had the trap, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And he goes, hey, man, you keep saying you're sorry. Don't say you're sorry unless your behavior changes. I go, that is deep. There you go. You stuck me again,
Right.
But he's so right.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, a true apology is about an effort to change your behavior.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to continually make that effort.
Yeah.
But I do, so people kept telling you you're not getting it. So what happened that made you start feeling like you were getting it, right? That you finally were getting it?
You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was. It was the church I was going to, they had a mission trip to Haiti. And the woman who I was renting a room said, you should go.
Oh, wow.
And there's a missions team, missions board, they're not very expensive. And like, I'm not going to know anybody, man. Why would I want to do that? Because God would love to see you go. And he's probably asked you several times or told you to go, but he's knocking at the door and you keep closing the door in his face, man. Stop that, Bill. And so I went. And the profound change in my life, I was baptized as a born-again Christian in the Caribbean. Sometimes when you grow up in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, there is so much wealth there. Right and wrong, good and bad, it's a very gray area. People are so wealthy. They have so much. What do I need God for? But then you're going into this village and these people, they don't have a roof over their head. They have like logs. That's their house. But they always made sure you had the best place to sit.
Wow.
And they were very polite. They wanted to hear what you had to say. I came home, being baptized there, I felt renewed and clean. I felt clean and fresh. And some Christians on the flight home, don't get too comfortable, man. You're going to continue to hit speed bumps.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be as big.
Right.
And I was really changed. Another, God slapping me around, like, get it. Start getting it.
Right.
I came back a different person, realized how selfish and angry I was, but how good people with nothing can be so happy because it's all they know.
Right.
And then, that was really my start following Jesus, and I serve at the jail ministry at the county jail here. I really like that. Yeah. I like it a lot, man, because I've been in jail and I meet people where they are. I don't put myself on a higher plane than them.
Right.
Because I've been where you are. Do your time, get out, don't come back. And don't get mad at anybody else, and this is my new chapter.
Right.
And this is my path.
Right. And that, I love that you're so willing to share what you have, share your experiences. And I feel like it's kind of like we're recycling our garbage, the garbage that we have inside us, the garbage that has happened to us, and we get to recycle it and make something good out of it, by offering support to other people in whatever way we can. And I love that you're willing to do that. So you mentioned speed bumps.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about a survivor shift. Do you feel like you had one major shift that finally the hope and light of the future outpowered the despair of the past or the anger of the past? Do you have one shift when that happened, or have there been several?
There's been several. For me, it's like a reckoning, kind of.
I like that.
I was in a couple serious motorcycle accidents, and one of them, I hit a parked car by 105 miles an hour.
Oh.
And, I was doing meth and drinking, and it's ironic how I crashed in a parked car right in the middle of where a cemetery was and then an emergency room hospital.
Oh, wow.
Is that like trippy or what?
Wow. Wow.
And there's some kids that, hey, dude, you're messed up. We'll call 911. And I go, man, I'm in trouble. I don't have a license. They're going to drug test me. And took me to the hospital and the trauma center. Doctors came in trying to arouse me, wake me up, and then I thought, I get it. I'm dying. I must be dying. They're getting ready to transfer me. It must be his spleen. He's bleeding out in his chest cavity. Let's get him to OR. And then I said to myself, let's see, my dog's in a good home right now. I told my mom I loved her. And I said, Father, take me home. I'm ready. And then I heard a voice. Not yet, Bill. I have other plans for you. And I woke up. Blood pressure came back up. Pulse rate came back up to normal.
Wow.
Breathing on my own. Opened my eyes.
Wow.
And the surgeon looked at me and said, what happened? You gave us quite a scare.
Yeah, that definitely would be a survivor shift. That would be a shift. I think that would shift anybody into a better gear, right?
Well, Tammy, it's like that's where I was learning that God doesn't make things happen. He didn't make me hit this car,
right,
but he let it happen.
Right.
The fact that I lived, that was on him.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And people will say, well, things happen for a reason. Well, that's not really in the Bible. What's in the Bible is things are going to happen. And how you respond to that is a real true test of your faith. It's my go-to verse, this verse, James 1, 2 through 8. And it starts, consider all joy, my brethren, when we encounter various trials. Mm-hmm. What James is saying is not joy from the trials themselves. That's what I didn't get at first. I'm thinking trial. I got to try. Man, I'm getting sense. That's a trial,
Right.
It wasn't that. It's like your little hiccups in life, your speed bumps. The more you persevere and endure, the more you become a man that God wants you to be.
Right.
So you see in that chapter, there's moving here, going back. I'm like tossed salad. I'm all over the place. But this was a chapter.
Right.
It's not like that anymore. So that chapter, it's closed. I don't forget it. Told you a lot about it. There's more to share. But it's my path to righteousness, to Jesus, man. And I really thank him so much. I love him. He's my friend. And he saved my life more than once. When you battle depression, it's not just it's a gloomy day.
Right.
It's like there's some times where you just can't get out of bed, man.
Right.
And when Moses died and God gave Joshua the kingdom to watch after, and Joshua, what?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me, Father. Yeah. He goes, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. I will not forsake you nor leave you. I'll be with you always to the end of time.
So you've gone through all this. You fought against it. You're finally embracing reality, really, embracing your own responsibility, embracing your higher power, Jesus Christ. So is it all worth the hard work that you put in to be where you are?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. We did this book is called Experiencing God. And chapter 1, we learn about God. It's God's will.
Right.
And there's a big question for everyone in the group individually to answer. You living by God's will? Is it a God-centered life, or is it a self-centered life? You pick.
Right. Right.
And my life was very self-centered and selfish and evil and ugly. But, there's that path.
Right.
And then, good things started happening a little bit, when I started like waking up and putting the blinker on, going to the slow lane.
Right.
Maybe even pulling over.
Right.
And like, breathe, but they met. And if I haven't been through good and bad, the things I've been through, places I've been to some dark places, Tammy, but I love every bit of it, every place I go. And when I come back to this country and come back to Nevada, or when I was living in California, I'm a changed person, man.
Right.
I think everybody needs to go on a mission trip to a third world country.
Bill, thank you so much for sharing with us your story. I really appreciate that. But I do have a question. If you had one thing that you would want to share with people who are struggling, what would that be?
You know what it would be? This is a great story. There's a story of this little boy. He heard somebody was coming to town, and this guy was claiming to be Jesus Christ, and he wanted to go see him. And his mother kind of like laughed at him, and he's supposed to be the Messiah, Mom. And she goes, you need to take a lunch. And so she gave him like a couple of loaves of bread and some fried fish in a little basket. And he went off to go see this guy, Jesus. And he didn't realize there's going to be so many people there. And so he was little. And so he maneuvered his way to get really close to this guy with long hair, white robe, sandals, who had a bunch of friends around him. And they were kind of like arguing about all these people. How are we going to feed them all? It's like, we can't go to Safeway. There wasn't anything like that, and so this little kid chimes in and goes, Mister, will this help? So he gave Jesus this little woven basket of a couple loaves of bread and some freeze-dried fish. And Jesus said, this will work. And we know the story, what happened. And Jesus fed 5,000 people. Didn't cost anybody a dime. No one had to go to the store. Had enough bread, had enough fish for all these people. And they say that the 5,000 people was probably a very low number. Moral of the story is this, and it's such a great moral story of the story of how to live your life. And this little kid just handed it over to Jesus, and then he backed off. Moral of the story is, pack your lunch, give it to Jesus, and get out of the way.
I like that.
And if you think about it, man, just hand all your garbage to Jesus and back up and get out of the way. Turn it over to him, and he'll meet your needs.
I love that.
I love that. I love that story. I love telling it. When I first heard it, it was awesome. And thank you for having me, man. I just feel I love your friendship, and honored and privileged to be here doing this.
I think when we're open and we share with each other the stories, of our own overcoming, it's a process. We're on a journey, a healing journey. And I think the more that we can share our stories, share our parables like you just did, or whatever that can help others, I think that's on a good path.
Right on.
Okay.
Right on.
Well, thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you for joining us on Survivor Shift. I'm your host, Tammy Renee.